The unblinking eyes of the Spicebush caterpillar stare into the face of danger. Subterfuge is a great tool, but maintaining a ruse requires showmanship and commitment to a role. If a hungry predator sees past their sly facade, this caterpillar's spices are cooked. But taking advantage of your enemy's deepest fears can be effective in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. If you'd like to donate, just visit patreon.com/ldtaxonomy or click on donate on our website.
And today we're talking about a creature that sounds like an expensive brand of tea. But more on that later.
It sounds like the only foliage that grows on Arrakis.
Yeah.
But we are talking about the Spicebush. The Spicebush swallowtail. Which I thought was a bird until I researched it.
It sounds like a bird.
It does. But it's not. But we're going to call it here, it's also known as the Spicebush butterfly. There you go. Spoiler. It's called the green clouded butterfly, but we're going to call it here wannabe wing, snake it to the limit, and Heimlich remover.
Heh.
The wannabe wing, that one I had to dig deep for that one because I was like, I know there's a band called the Spice Girls. I don't know any of their songs, so I looked up like what are their most popular songs, and I obviously know the wannabe song, or I've heard it many times before, and so I had to figure out a way to incorporate that in, which it works. Because of the major fact for this guy, wannabe. So it's
true.
That ended up being pretty appropriate. So let's taxonomize this. Let's do a science together, shall we? The kingdom is one you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Arthropoda. The class is Insecta. The order is Lepidoptera. We're in the butterfly zone, which is just off Sample Road and the Turnpike. The family is Papillonidae. 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 Papillon. The genus is Papilio, and the species is Troilus. Papilio Troilus. And since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show and the listeners' favorite part of the show, critter groups. We're back. It's been a while since we've done it.
Because I already know what papillon means.
Yes. But you don't know what Troilus means, though.
Probably not.
But we're doing critter groups anyway. There's a couple terms of venery for butterflies. We've already done one when we did the purple emperor butterfly, but this is a new one. So if you saw a group of butterflies, first of all, you'd be enchanted. And second of all, what would you call it? Would you call it A, a flutter of butterflies, B, a wing of butterflies, C, a blossom of butterflies, or D, a cascade of butterflies?
A cascade of butterflies, final answer.
That is incorrect. The answer is flutter. A flutter
Disgusting.
Of butterflies. I mean, my favorite one is kaleidoscope, which is the one that we did for the Purple Emperor. a kaleidoscope of butterflies, which makes sense. If you ever watch a video of like the monarch butterflies in their huge groups, it's not unlike looking through a kaleidoscope. So that one works for me. But it's a flutter of butterflies. You can tell because flutter and butter rhyme. There's your there's the logic in it. So let's talk about what this guy looks like. The Spicebush swallowtail butterfly, it has black wings. It has a faint greenish blue sheen, kind of like it's been dusted with spice. It has these creamy white spots along the wing edges, the lower parts specifically. Kind of like someone flicked some white paint on them. Their hind wings have orange spots. And they have the whole thing has like a bluish sheen to them, but they have a large faded blue patch, like there's some sand, some very fine sand on the bottom parts of their wings. So they almost look like fluorescent.
It almost looks like a frosted window. You're looking at it like a bright summer's day through a frosted window.
That was beautiful. A bright summer's day through a frosted window. Yeah, you should. That was very very thorough-ish of you.
Yeah, I'm just transcending.
Yeah, just transcend
with my intellism.
Although, would he even include a window in his? Probably not.
Ugh. A window that's not a glass window. It's just a hole in the house.
You can have a hole, but no glass. That is not natural enough.
In fact, if he didn't build a cabin by Walden, he probably didn't have any glass windows. It's probably just like a cupboard style opening.
He probably did what they did back in the Middle Ages, which is like stretch animal skin over it.
The Middle Ages.
Oh, I mean, I know he didn't live in the Middle Ages, but he would have had to have done something to keep all the nasty mosquitoes out. And the last thing I'll say about their appearance, I mean, they are medium-sized butterflies, so they're not super tiny, but they're also not like massive moths or anything like that. But they do have those characteristic swallow tails, these long kind of spikes coming off of the bottom, or lobes, I guess, coming off of the bottom, give him that kind of, that forked swallowtail vibe.
The cabin does have a window.
The Rose cabin window. does have a window.
It does today. I don't know if this is even, I don't know much about it. I don't know if this is the original or if it's just like a recreation, but it looks old and it has a window. There's an old picture of it with the window in it. So I think confirmed it had a glass window.
That hypocrite.
And a fireplace. He had a lot of amenities.
Yeah. And it had HVAC and TiVo.
Yeah.
All right. Let's like I said, it's not
glamping.
It's a pretty Henry David Thoreau is glamping the whole time while he's writing poetry about how evil not nature is. All right. Like I said, it's a medium-sized butterfly. How big is it, Joe?
What an excellent question. That brings us to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listeners part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you sit in an audio of yourself singing or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week. So I'm going to describe an animal to you. You have to guess what it is. I've asked ChatGPT to create an like a what am I game, or yeah, like the what am I riddle games.
Who's that Pokemon?
Kind of, yeah. But instead of showing you a silhouette, it's a series of 5 hints that make it increasingly obvious. And boy, did it take a lot for it not to
give it away on the
give it away in the
one.
first hint. Yes.
That's probably harder to do than it sounds.
Yes. Well, here it goes. First, what character is this? It's a winged creature inspired by nature's delicate flyers, often found in stories of transformation emerging from a cocoon. Now, it's not even telling you it's a cat. It's a
butterfly.
It's a butterfly yet.
Okay.
So that's
we're gonna save that for the next one.
Okay. So yeah, well, let's skip to the next one. My abilities include spreading a fine dust from my wings, which can disrupt opponents in strategic ways. Here's another hint. It's in a collectible card game from the early 2000s.
Okay. Yeah.
My card from a set called Neo Discovery had a unique attack called Whirlwind.
Okay, so it's a character. Are we calling Butterfree a character now? Because there's a whole episode about saying goodbye to him.
It has dialogue.
Yeah, it says Butterfree. It's the only
Are you
thing
locking
he knows
that
how to
in?
say. Yeah, I'm gonna lock in Butterfree.
Butterfree is correct. The first, I kept telling ChatGPT, it was like, it is a Pokemon in the Kanto region was the hint one, and I'm like, you don't understand. He will know it is a butterfly, and he will know it's a Pokemon by the word Kanto. This is you need to be more subtle. And then it was just like, well, fine, I won't even say it's a butterfly.
What? Yeah, a winged creature that sprinkles dust to disrupt its foes, its opponents. I was like, it's either Tinkerbell or a Pokemon.
That would have been I should have went with something more obscure like Tinkerbell.
But the thing is, what like every generation of Pokemon has another butterfly, so there was a lot of material to work with there. There's a lot of different butterflies you could have done, but of course,
I don't know
only
any
one of them,
of the other ones.
Well, one of them's called Beautifly, so they really went all out on the naming department in that one.
Let's talk about the length of the caterpillar specifically. The Spicebush caterpillar has a length of 55 millimeters, or 5.5 centimeters, or 2.17 inches. In its final instar, how many butterflies? How many caterpillars go into each of these things, and which one of these is correct? A, 11.1 go into the length of the Liberty Bell crack. B, 1 goes into the diameter of a colonial-era musket ball. C, 7.2 go into the length of a quill pen from the Constitutional Convention. Okay,
not the musket ball. If you had said circumference, maybe, but not diameter. At least, yeah, that's way too big. I'm going to go with the Liberty Bell crack. Final answer.
The correct answer is A. 11 go into the length of the Liberty Bell's crack.
Yeah. Not that I know offhand how long the Liberty Bell's crack is.
The Liberty Bell's crack is about 24 inches. 61 centimeters.
I feel a little ashamed to admit that I don't know why it's cracked.
I don't know why it's cracked either. I don't know if there's a
story, like a good story behind it.
Yeah. Why is the Liberty Bell
we're going to look it up now.
No, I'm going to we could keep going. It's a flaw in the metal. I didn't think there was a big story. It's not like when Paul Revere got to this town, he rang it so hard it cracked to tell everyone when the British were coming.
That's
That's what I would tell middle schoolers.
That's what like a king of Rohan would do.
Yeah.
He rang it so hard that it split asunder. He rent it in twain.
Why is his poorly made bell famous?
Because it means
the exact
freedom.
date and cause of the large visible crack are unknown. It cracked almost immediately during testing in Philadelphia.
So instead of throwing into the ocean like they should have, they're like, nope, this is going to become one of the most iconic pieces of metal in American history.
Anyway, the width of the Spicebush caterpillar, 8 millimeters or 0.31 inches. How many butterfly caterpillar things placed side by side would fit into each of these things? Which one of these is correct? A, 10.5 go into the width of a Betsy Ross flag star. B, 76 go into the width of a Pony Express mochila. Or C, 0.8 go into the thickness of a Lincoln penny. Do you know what a mochila is?
It means backpack in Spanish.
Yeah, it's a leather mail bag used by the Pony Express riders.
I don't think it's the penny. The width of a penny? Like the...
Mm-hmm.
I guess what is width? Like the depth of it?
The thickness.
The thickness, yes. Yeah, that's right. That's the term. Okay, so it's not that one. So either a mochila, or a star. Betty Ross star. The star. Final answer.
The correct answer is 76 go into the width of a Pony Express mochila. Too bad trains ruined the Pony Express.
I don't miss it. Trains are better than horses.
That's well, it depends on being a friend. I don't know. Depends on who you ask.
I guess, yes, and what you need the thing for. If you need a friend, then I bet you a horse is better.
Yeah, unless you love trains.
Or unless the horse hates you.
That's all I got for that. Do you have any fast facts before we get into the majorest fact?
Sure. So the Spicebush swallowtail lives in the eastern United States from New York to Florida to West Texas. I'm not sure if that's why you chose the things that you chose, because it's just the U.S.
Yeah,
or
it's
because
an American butterfly.
We are getting close to Independence Day.
That's true.
It loves to hang out in woodlands, swamps, gardens, especially where, unsurprisingly, spicebush grows. But also it likes to eat sassafras. Caterpillars eat the spicebush and sassafras leaves. Adults, like most butterflies, don't eat leaves. Instead, they eat nectar, or they sip nectar using their proboscises, these long tongue straws that are curled up, that come out of their face. They uncurl them and put them into flowers to sip the nectar. And while they do that, they collect pollen, and they are pollinators. And the flowers they like to choose are things like milkweed. Males will patrol for females. They will show off fancy flight patterns, and that's what females will use to select a mate. Once they become adults, they live for about 2 to 4 weeks, which is enough time for them to eat, pollinate, mate, and die. They are mostly solitary. So unlike something like a monarch butterfly where they get together in these little huge groups all the time, not all the time, but occasionally. But the spicebush swallowtail will get together when it is mating time, just not in massive groups like that. And they do fight over areas to patrol for females. Like most butterflies, they have to keep an eye out for predators like birds and spiders. And I will go ahead and leave it at that. I've mostly just been talking about the butterfly part of the butterfly and not the other stages. So that's why I'm going to leave it at that. Do you have anything to say about the rest of this animal?
Sure. Mostly the later instars of the caterpillar stage. The Spicebush exhibits mimicry, specifically snake mimicry. I'm calling this major fact. The snake is a lie, which I thought was fun.
You haven't even played that game.
I have played that game.
Oh, I didn't know you had. Oh, that's a Portal reference, huh?
Mm-hmm. In its caterpillar stage, it pretends to be a snake as a defense mechanism against predators. The caterpillar does not only mimic a snake in its appearance, it also acts like a snake as best as it can without any thoughts. As best as it can behave like anything without having any thoughts at all.
Head empty, no thoughts, but snake.
Yeah. Let's talk about the physical mimicry, or the visual mimicry at first, in the first place. In its later instars, the 3rd to 5th instars, the caterpillar has a green or brown body with large prominent eye spots on its thorax. These eye spots resemble a snake's eyes, complete with a white pupil and yellowish ring, creating the illusion of a snake's head. The body of the caterpillar even tapers, unlike most caterpillars, but it tapers to enhance the effect, mimicking a snake's neck and head shape.
It like arches up.
Yeah, it looks like it's got big dumpy pupils.
It looks like
it's got
Caterpie.
big goofy eyes.
It looks like Caterpie.
It is Caterpie.
Yeah.
So what about the behavior when it's threatened? The caterpillar retracts its head into its thorax, puffing up the eye spot area to emphasize the snake's a snake appearance. It may also sway or lunge slightly, imitating a snake's movement to startle predators. But then if that doesn't work, the caterpillar will extend its osmeterium, which is a forked orange organ behind the head, which emits a foul odor to further repel predators. The osmeterium looks like a snake's forked tongue, and they can even extend and retract it as a snake might flick its tongue in and out. This complements the snake mimicry and even adds a chemical deterrent, stinkiness, you might even say.
This is Caterpie. I mean, that it really is
100%.
This is the animal that they looked at when they designed Caterpie. That is, I was like, oh, this has a lot of similarities. But then once I saw the picture of it with that forked organ, that's what Caterpie has on his head.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, that's incredible. And it really does look like a snake from the top. I can see like a quick scan being like, oh, it's a snake.
A very, very, very small snake, though.
Some snakes are very, very small.
But you got to imagine, what if you had a bird brain? The mimicry is designed to trick predators that instinctively avoid snakes, including certain birds that might otherwise love the flavor of Spicebush. The combination of visual deception, movement, and chemicals make the Spicebush swallowtail caterpillar a challenging target. But like the most interesting part to me is this organ thing. If you look up, you got to look up a video of it.
How it flickers in and out.
Flicks in and out, yeah. I mean, to my human eyes, it doesn't really look like a snake. It's like the uncanny valley of a snake.
It looks like there's 14 guys wearing a snake costume, like one of those dragon costumes.
It moves like that too. But yes, I am positive this is what Caterpie is based on.
Yeah, that is me too.
There's a picture of a guy holding a bunch of them, and it looks so funny. It looks like a little guy, a little creature with big googly eyes. But none of those are not eyes. Are they?
No, they're not their eyes.
I know it's not their eyes, but I was wondering if that's where their eyes are, but they're not. They're in the front.
Their eyes are in the front, below the organ.
Yes.
What did you call the organ again? What is it called?
Osmetrium.
The osmetrium.
Osmeterium.
Wow,
Osmeterium.
That's quite a mouthful. Which I guess the caterpillar is trying not to be a mouthful for some bird.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so the eye spots are technically on the thorax, and that's when I'd said when the osmeterium comes from behind the head. I was like, what are you talking about, right? It's right in the front of the head. But it's not. It's not the real front of the head.
Yep, it's just the mimicking a snake is hard-coded into this thing.
Mm-hmm. Does it know it's like a snake?
But probably not at all. It's probably never seen a snake before. They don't live for all that long, and they don't go.
But it even lunges like a snake.
It's just hard-coded in its DNA to do this because it's the thing that gives it the best chance of not being eaten.
So, at some point, like if you take a naturalist perspective on this, at some point, it started lunging and some of them started lunging at birds, and had some spots maybe. And some bird somewhere said, "Oh boy, that's a snake," and left.
No, I'm sure there were like a bunch of them, and some of them had larger spots than others, and the ones that had larger spots weren't eaten as often because they looked more like snakes. And then when there were just ones with large spots, some of them lunged, and some of them like curled up or went away. The ones that curled up were eaten. The ones that lunged were less likely to be eaten. So then you only had ones that lunged, so on and so forth, etc., etc.
Until you got a tongue.
Yeah, Caterpie.
I saw a video of a mountain lion, like a young adolescent mountain lion, eating or like killing a skunk and having a terrible time doing it because of the skunk. So it just, like we've talked about before, how does it work? How do animals learn to stay away from certain things?
A skunk makes sense, but what I don't understand is like a poison. Well, I don't understand like a poison dart frog. Because if you mess up with the poison dart frog, you die. And so how is that learned behavior? You haven't passed that. You can't pass the learned behavior on to offspring, and you can't pass the like genetic wiring for that behavior to your offspring, because if you have offspring, you've already had it before you made the decision, before you learned the information. So
but maybe it's similar, like in terms of hard coding, where it's like things that eat this thing die.
But how would
the things that don't want to eat that thing don't die?
But how would that equation be made? Eat this thing and die.
are more likely to eat that thing don't reproduce. Because they die.
But it's like, if something is going to eat a frog, they should, all members of that species would probably, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking way out of my depth here, but
well, it's just like how some have eye spots, some didn't. Some ate the frogs, some didn't think they were good to eat.
It's weird for members of a species to decide to eat different things, though, in the same, all things being equal in the same environment. That would be odd. Maybe it's not impossible. Maybe it happens all the time. I don't know. But it just seems odd that, like, one would turn its nose up at, like, because usually species of animals have a diet, and it's unlikely that, this bug eats this leaf, and if you put a bug on that, the member of that species on that leaf, it's gonna eat it if it's hungry. It doesn't really have a reason to not. So, diet variance, that would be an interesting thing to learn about. Interspecies diet variance. I'm sure that's the technical term. But yeah, so I just don't get how you can how like the if something eats a poison dart frog, both the frog and the thing are dead. So no one has learned anything.
Yeah, it's DNA. It's got to be hard coding. It's like they're made this way.
At least with like a skunk, the skunk can learn both, like, intentionally and unintentionally, like through its DNA, that, acting in this way keeps me alive, prevents me from being eaten. And the mountain lion can learn trying to eat the skunk results in this consequence. And then those things can be either learned behaviors or coded behaviors, because it's a non-lethal interaction. So that makes sense to me.
True. But the thing I was watching was saying, like, because it is younger, it's less experienced and goes after the skunk anyway. But also younger panthers eat smaller things as well. So it was right in its wheelhouse, and it didn't know it was off limits.
It's like that one, like the Pirates of the Caribbean, the beginning, where they're talking about the Black Pearl, and the two soldiers are like, I've heard stories, like they raid towns and they never leave any survivors, and then Jack Sparrow's like, well, then where do the stories come from? It's like, yeah, if they don't, if every interaction is a fatal one, then how could anybody learn about this? Why would you be afraid of something if you did, like how animals aren't intrinsically afraid of guns because they don't have a reason to, because any interaction with it would be a fatal one, really. So they can't pass a fear of guns to their offspring. They can pass a fear of, man. But the fact that a man has a gun doesn't necessarily make them more or less threatening in the eyes of, like, a deer or something. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, so that was the Spicebush swallowtail butterfly for you out there in Podcastia. Have some sassafras. Model for the next line of Pokemon. And if you have to copy someone, a venomous serpent is not a bad start, like the Spicebush swallowtail here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we have a Patreon that you can find by going to ldtaxonomy.com/donate. All of our episodes are uploaded there. Sign up for free to engage with us, leave episode suggestions, or chat with other animal enthusiasts. If you find it in your heart to donate, it will help us cover some costs and continue to make the show. Plus, we'll thank you every week. Most importantly, thank you all for listening.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Some of these instars look like maybe they do the bird poop mimicry at some point.